CMPRadio.net, it's the station. Listen, man, let's cultivate together. Bring us all your show ideas. Content creators, we're looking for that. Videographers, we're looking for that. You can be a part of the next great big thing that takes place right here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Let's cultivate together, man. What's going on, everybody, man? Project Engage, where we are engaging every part of our community on a healthy playing field. CMPRadio.net, this is the voice of Chester. You are the voice of Chester. Let's take a moment to celebrate everyone's voices. So, today I have a very special show. My guy, Dr. Nolan Fontaine, Dr. Nolan Fontaine is gonna bring some of his friends up, and they're gonna talk about Indigenous people in the city of Chester. So, listen, let's lend him your ears, right? Listen to him. And if you have any questions, throw the questions up in the chat. It's CMPRadio.net. You already know it's the station. What's going on, good brother? Unmute your mic.
What's going on?
How you
OCO
feeling?
coming on Gabo.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty much.
How's your day going?
It's going good, man. You know, another day. I mean, it's Sunday, so, you know, I'm good. I appreciate you. I want to say thank you for all the support that you've given me over the last couple months.
I appreciate you.
You know how it goes. Bro. Yeah.
Indeed.
All right, let's introduce your people that's coming on. I'm out of here. Peace.
Absolutely. What's going on, y'all? As I said, OCO, Kamawen Gapo, all American Indian greetings here in the Eastern Woodlands. As JP said, my name's Dr. Nolan L. Fontaine, homegrown, Lamokan Village, Chester, PA, 19013. I am a part of Urban Indian Heritage Society, and I would like to introduce my colleagues from UIHS. It's our acronym that we call ourselves. We have my colleague, Junior Coleman, also known as Firewalker, who will be joining us. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, brother. We also have my colleague, the incomparable Miss Phoenix Moon, who is also a part of UIHS, Urban Indian Heritage Society, serves as our vice president. And I believe we may have one of our additional colleagues, Ms. Celestine Wilson of I Am Celestine Collection. I'm so glad that y'all could all pull up with us. OCOTR. Looking forward and having a good conversation today about the history here in Lenape Hocken and Okie Hocken. I think that we touched on a good portion of the beginning of those things yesterday while we were at Swarthmore, right? In terms of just the history, the culture, and the heritage of this area. Whether we were talking about Benjamin West, Benjamin Franklin, or, you know, touching on history of William Penn today, right? So I kind of wanted to start there and, you know, kind of pick up where we left off from yesterday, right? With the differences between black and white, right? And kind of allow that to lead us into, you know, the history of the treaty signers here in Chester.
Well, thank you for having us here. You know, I have a deep fondness for the city of Chester, Delaware County. A lot of historical details and caveats that need to be talked about and need to have some light shine upon them. Like I said, I do have a deep fondness for the city of Chester, and look forward to be here. I'm glad to be here.
Great to have you, Phoenix. Um, yeah, I think yesterday, in terms of our conversation, right, we were discussing some of the original folks, right, who came to this area in the 1600s and the early 1700s. And contrary to popular belief, a lot of those folks did not come from what we know as the modern day continent of Africa. A lot of these folks who were classified as Negroes weren't actually Negroes de terra, right? Negroes of this land. They were more so Negro de Guinea, which translates into, we did that walk down yesterday of Guinea actually being in France. So a lot of those Negroes actually come from, modern day Europe. So uh, do we want to touch on any of that drop that we did yesterday? That was a good conversation that we had relating to the Dutch. Um,
Certainly, I don't mind. I guess we could start with the etymology so that people understand where we're coming from when we speaking in terms of the very words black and white. Starting there, you'll see that the origins of these words begin in a place where you typically don't expect black people to have any origin. And when I say black, I mean what people appear as visage, right? Someone that looks like you or someone that looks like me. Even though they very well may not be black at all, because nobody matches a car tire or asphalt, right? And then in the instance of what is the exact legal definition and what is the word origin itself, and in what languages does it translate to in modern times, right? And
so
you can use the etymology, which is the beginning or the word origin, and kind of work yourself backwards to get a better explanation of the difference between black and white, if there is a difference between black and white.
now I find that very interesting, given the time that that original usage kind of started coming to play, right, in the era of modern day Chester, of former Okie now, give me just a moment, because I would like to pull up this document. One of the interesting things too that we noticed from visiting Penn's Landing today is that the original land indenture that was allegedly given to William Penn was given by King Charles II, right? And we have a fondness of knowing about some of those former regents of yesteryear and everything. A lot of times, those regents, whether we're talking about King Charles II or uh, King James the Sixth and the First, right? That they weren't just regents of one specific realm, right? They often had multiple commonwealth realms. So you're talking about England, you're talking about Ireland. In some cases, depending on the mother, yeah, they may have French influence, and depending on any colonies, specifically here, they would have say so power or authority, right, over this area that their colony was. So we know with them coming to Chester that it was a little bit of tug and war between like who actually quote unquote owned the land, and we're gonna touch a little bit on that today. Now I like to
I just want to throw this out there. This is
absolutely.
all, very important. Is this information just just services and that we're talking about on Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, just to kind of put that in perspective, and as far as the relevancy, we're just kind of throwing it out there. Relevancy is important. Placing yourself in the story and understanding how you and your folks got here, through your ancestors. That's important. It's a long journey. It don't happen like that, right? So, just like Phoenix was saying yesterday, you gotta be willing to do the work. You gotta do the work. So I'll just leave that there. You got whatever you're gonna pull up.
I believe I do. Yes.
All right. Maybe just. There you go.
Appreciate that. I'm going to try and share that now.
While you're doing that, I just.
All right. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Can't see it? How about now, y'all? Can you see it now?
No.
No? All right. Hold up.
Well, while you pulling that up.
Okay. How about now?
Nope.
Might need to put it in the chat and have y'all do it for me. That's totally all right. That's quite all right. I will give y'all the actual name of the document. That way you can look for that yourself at a later time. And then what I'll do right now is I'll just read from the document, just so we can get an understanding of relations between some of those folks who we were talking about, right? Those original Negro, the Guinea, and even some of the swarthy Europeans, right? The dark-skinned Europeans who encountered some of the Indians in Chester. So let's talk about that real quick. Right here, I'm reading from The History of Delaware County by Henry Ashmead, and I'm pulling this from page 25, where it says it was the fixed policy of William Penn in order to avoid all causes of trouble with the Indians growing out of disputed rights to the soil to purchase from the Aborigines and extinguish the title to the territory as rapidly as civilization pushed outward into the quote unquote backwoods. The ownership of the land within Delaware County was released to William Penn by the Indians in two deeds, both of which are interesting because of the consideration mentioned as have been paid to the chiefs. The first deed was executed over a year before William Penn returned to England in 1684. The old document is as follows. We, Sikane and Iquaquanquan, Indian satchel makers, and right owners of ye land lying between Manioc, we know where Manioc is, right, and Schuylkill, and Macapachin, also Chester rivers, do this day, 14th of ye 5th month, which back then would have been August, not May, right? 14th day of ye 5th month and ye year, according to English account 1683, hereby grant and sell all over, right and title, in ye lands lying between ye river, beginning on the west side of Manioc, called Conshohocken, and from thence by a westerly line to ye river Malapakaken, unto William Penn, proprietor and governor of ye province of Pennsylvania, and his heirs and assignees forever, and in consideration of 15 fathom of wampum, 14 blankets, 65 yards duffels, 28 yards strout, 15 guns, 3 kettles, 15 small kettles, 16 pairs of stockings, 7 pairs of shoes, 6 caps, 12 gimblets, 6 drawing knives, 15 pairs of scissors, 15 pairs of combs, 5 pairs of paper needles, 10 tobacco boxes, 15 tobacco tongs, 32 pounds of powder, 3 paper beads, 2 papers, red lead, 15 coats, 15 shirts, 15 axes, 15 knives, 30 bars of lead, 18 glasses, 18 holes, upon us in hand paid, the receipt of where is hereby acknowledged, have renounced all claims and demands for ye future from us or heirs or the signees into ye premises. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hands and seals, ye day and year first above written, the mark of Sachem Sakane, the mark of Sachem Equaquanquan, sealed and delivered in the presence of Pisikium, the mark of Peter Rambo, who I'm believing is a colonist, the mark of Swanson, Philip Lehman, Joseph Curtis, and Katamis, an Indian king. Once again, this is an account from the history of Delaware County, written by Henry Ashmead, and this was an excerpt from page 25, chapter known as The Colonial History of the War of Revolution. And once again, this was the first treaty negotiated by William Penn and Sachem Equaquanquan, which I find is very interesting because how many young bulls here in the city do we know name or nickname Quan and Sachem Sakane? A lot of folks ride past Seacane daily and don't even know that it's named after an Indian chief. So I thought that would be a great case to read us, right?
Name Quan?
Equaquanquan. But yeah, how many
Quan?
Quan? Yeah, Quan for short. How many Quans? How many Quans you know? I know a couple.
Well, that's an indigenous name. It's not a name from off the boat. So just, you know, when folks is naming their children, their sons, or any name that got the Quan in it, right? That is an American thing, right? Like you see it over here, right? It didn't come over here; it was here. So that's crazy. Quan out in Seacane. Go holler at Quan out Seacane.
That's fact. Shout out to anybody else that's listening in the audience. If you know any Quans, if you know any Quanas, yeah, shout them out in the chat below. Love to see it, right? And while y'all doing that, let's pull up this second. We're gonna go right into this second land indenture that William Penn had to negotiate and everything. Yes, indeed. Because a lot of times, the reason that we wanted to do this is we understand what's at stake, what's going on in Chester right now with the receiver, not so much the receiver, but being in the receivership and trying to get out this precarious spot, right? Of the city being hopefully not disincorporated or, excuse me, having to go deeper into bankruptcy. So I'm very thankful for having a receiver, Mr. Dowry and Mr. Kapoor, be able to at least bring up the questions of, you know, who owns Chester Water Authority. Like, I thought that was a great place to start. But now as American Indians, it's our job to take it a little bit further, which is why we wanted to present to everybody in 19013 who actually owned the land, right? So I'm going to read from this second land indenture negotiated by William Penn.
Billy Penn.
Billy Penn. It starts off, and I'm still reading from the same document, from the same book, History of Delaware County by Henry Ashmead. And before the end of this, I'll make sure to add the PDF just in case you can't get the hard copy of the book. It starts off as the second deed was made after William Penn had returned to England. The Provincial Council on the 22nd of the 7th month, which now would be September, modern day September, 1685, was notified by Captain Lassie Cock that the Indians were anxious to dispose of their land between Upland and Appoquinimink. A council immediately appointed Thomas Home, Surveyor General John Simcock, and Colonel William Markham, the then secretary of the body, to meet the Indians and purchase from them the territory named. The following deed, executed 10 days after the date given, shows how expeditiously the authorities acted in carrying out their original intention of Penn: the extinguishment of Indian titles, but the indefinite bounds, quote unquote, so far as a man can ride in 2 days with a horse, clearly shows the superior bargaining abilities of the quote unquote white men, and the success which attended this transition might have prompted the noted quote unquote walking purchase on a later date. And here's the actual wording of the land indenture. It says, this indenture witnesseth that we lair Pecana, Tarikham, Sakais, Petaquisic, Tuis, Espinekat, Petkoi, Kikiblapman, Femos, Makalor, Melanoga, Wisa, Poi, all Indian king satchel makers, right owners of the land from Queen Cass, called Duck Creek. Duck Creek is now located in Delaware, modern day Delaware. Called the unto the upland called Chester Creek, along by the west side, on the west side right now, of Delaware River. And so between said creeks backward, as far as a man can ride in 2 days with a horse. And in consideration of these following goods, to in hand be paid and secured by William Penn, proprietor and governor of the province of Pennsylvania, and territories thereof, viz. 20 guns, 20 fathom match coats, 20 fathom stroud waters, 20 blankets, 20 kettles, 20 pounds of powder, 100 bars of lead, 40 tomahawks, 100 knives, 40 pair of stockings, 1 barrel of beer, 20 pound of red lead, 100 fathom wampum, 30 glass bottles, 30 pewter spoons, 100 awl blades, 300 tobacco pipes, 100 hands of tobacco, 20 tobacco tongs, 20 stills, 300 flints, 30 pairs of scissors, 30 combs, 60 looking glasses, 200 needles, 1 skipple salt, 30 pounds of slugger, 5 gallons of molasses, 20 tobacco boxes, 100 juice harps, 20 hoes, 30 gimlets, 30 wooden screws, and 100 string beads. We hereby acknowledge, in behalf of ourselves as only right owners of the aforesaid tract of land, to bargain and sell, and these presents do fully, clearly, and absolutely bargain and sell unto the said William Penn and his heirs and assignees forever, without any molestation or any hindrance from or by us, and from any and by any other Indians whatsoever that shall or may claim any right, title, interest in or unto said tract of land, or any part of thereof, in witness whereof we have thereunto set our hands and seals at Newcastle. We know where Newcastle is, down in Delaware, the 2nd day of the 8th month, 1683. Signed and sealed and delivered unto Captain Thomas Home, Surveyor General of ye province of Pennsylvania, and for use of William Penn Esquire, Proprietor and Governor of ye aforesaid province and territories thereunto, belonging to the presence of us, Peter Alex, Lasse Cott, Philip Lehman, James Atkinson, Christopher Gore, the mark of John Walker, Edward Lair, John Mandy, the mark of Tom Agoran, the mark of Ulwick Hahn, the mark of Lickham, the mark of Patasco, and the mark of Mac Rashut, all Indian satchel makers. Now, I don't know about y'all, but reading some of those first names in the beginning of that land indenture, when I first heard the chief's name, or the satchel maker's name, Tariq Ham, I know a real life Tariq Ham nowadays. How many of y'all know the Hams in Chester, right? Not to mention the other chief, Kiki Lapin, right? Now, how many Kikis we know? And nowadays we know that a lot of these American Indian chiefs, kings, satchel makers, a lot of them were not just male. A lot of them were actually female. So I'm going to stop right there because I've done a lot of reading, real exhaustive. I'm going to open it up for my other folks. Phoenix Jr., what are your thoughts on that?
I wanted to point out the proprietorship, in which case they would be considered the landlord. What was the final disposition of that land indenture, and how do you think it affects the people of the city of Chester now? You got to come off the mic.
My fault. I think that's a great question. One of the things that we've yet to find from doing research here in Chester, since the receivers come, we've yet to find a land indenture. And on top of that, we've yet to find if all those things that I was reading within the land indenture, the tobacco boxes and the barrels of tobacco and the stockings and the pounds of lead, as well as the wampum, they specifically asked to be paid in wampum, not pounds, not euros,
not guineas,
not dollars.
And also, would they have lion money? They had dog money, lion
Absolutely.
money as currency
They had
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And we also know that they had guineas. Guineas was also a currency, right? It wasn't just
guineas.
the Negroes of the land. Yeah, that was actually a currency. So the reason why I bring all that up is we have yet to substantiate that William Penn and his heirs have actually paid that. And I'm actually going to read an excerpt from this same book that specifies that. And the reason why I bring that up is, within a court of law, much like we are now, the entire city of Chester has been in, state and federal court regarding situation regarding disincorporation with the city. They also have to show and prove that this actual tract of land that was listed in this land indenture has been paid for. So unfortunately, we haven't been able to find that, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right?
I was going to say, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And I think we need to look a little harder. So definitely something that we should look to see if we can make that materialize.
Absolutely. And if you give me just a moment, I will pull up the additional document regarding the Lame King. Now, the Lame King is interesting. The Lame King is the chief of what would be modern day Marcus Hook. So give me just a moment while I pull that up. Firewalker, could we get a little musical interlude just while I switch screens and try to get that going?
Sure thing. Just say again, happy Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, everybody. You need more or?
Nope. But I appreciate that so much. That gave me just enough time to find this excerpt regarding the Lame King. If y'all would be able to take the link that I just posted and post that in the chat, that'd be greatly appreciated on Facebook, just so folks can have that for their own perusal. I'm going to read from here now. This is page 28 of the History of Delaware County, still authored by Henry Ashmead. And this says, to add to the general consternation, about 10 o'clock at the night of the evening fixed upon by the savages to begin the attack, a messenger, quote unquote, out of the woods came hurriedly into Chester with a report that, oh, sorry, lost my place on the page. Oh, I'm so sorry. But part of the what I'll be reading is how there was really a issue or a rumor that was going around here in Delaware County that the Indians were actually planning an uprising. So that had all of the colonists is in a tizzy because we have to remember by this time Jamestown was already, incorporated, right? And by this time, there had already been Indians going back and forth across the Atlantic to England. Simultaneously, we already know by this time that the Jamestown massacre had already occurred. So there were a lot of folks that were on edge at this point in time, right? So thanks for bearing with me, y'all. I have found it again. All right. So here it talks about I think I stopped at out of the woods came hurriedly into Chester with the report that 3 families residing about 9 miles distant had been murdered by the Indians. The people of the town gathered to consider the startling intelligence, and at midnight, a Quaker resident at Chester, accompanied by 2 young men, went to the place named where they found 3 houses empty, but no signs of murder. The dwellers therein, alarmed by the rumor, had fled the houses of their parents about a mile distant on the Ridley Creek. To further particulars of this alarm are given by the Proud. And this is a verbatim account in quotations. The master of one of these families, being from home, had been informed that 500 Indians were actually collected at Naaman's Creek, named after Chief Naaman's, in pursuit of their desire to kill the English. And as he was hastening to his home, thought he heard his boy crying out and saying, "What shall I do? My dame is killed." Upon which, instead of going home to know the certainty of the affair, he ran off to acquaint the government at Philadelphia. But being met by a person of more prudence than himself before he got to the city, he was persuaded to him to return. The report, notwithstanding, soon arrived at the city, of course, Chester, and was told with such alarming circumstance that a messenger was immediately dispatched to Marcus Hook, near said Naaman's Creek, to inquire the truth of it. He quickly returned and confirmed the report, but with variation, it was at Brandywine Creek at an Indian town where 500 Indians were assembled, and that they, having a lame king, had carried him away with all their women and children. These circumstances rendered the affair still more alarming, and with many amounted to a certainty. The council were, at that time, sitting at Philadelphia on other affairs, when one of them, a friend, supposed to be Caleb Pusey, who we know in Chester, Pusey Street is named after, right? Who lived in Chester County, voluntarily offered himself to go to the place provided. They would name 5 others to accompany him without weapons, which, being soon agreed on, they rode to the place. But instead of meeting with 500 warriors, they found the old lame king quietly laying with his lame foot along the ground and his head at ease on a kind of pillow. The women were at work in the field and the children were playing together. When they entered the wigwam with the king, presently asked them very mildly what all they came for. They told him the reports which the Indian woman had raised and asked him whether the Indians had anything against the English. He appeared much displeased at the report and said, "Those women ought to be burnt to death." Talking heavy. Talking heavy. And that they had nothing against the English, adding, "'Tis true." This is very important, y'all. "'Tis true, there's about 15 pounds yet behind on our pay for the land, which Wellington brought. But as you are still on it and improving it to your own use, we are not in haste for our pay. But when the English come to settle it, we expect to be paid. We expect to be paid." I'm going to say it again. We expect to be paid, right? This, the messenger, thinking very reasonable, told him they would be undoubtedly paid for their land. One of the company further expressed to him, to the Indian king, in the following manner: that the great God who make the world and all things there within consequently made all mankind, both Indians and English, and as he made all, so his love was extended to all, which was plainly shown above by his causing the rain and dews to fall on the ground for both Indian and English alike, that it might generally be produced with the Indians as well as with the English sowed or planted in it for the sustenance of life, and also his making the sun to shine equally for both Indians and English, to nourish them all, extending his love thus to all, for they were naturally bound to love one another. The king answered, what they had said was true, and as God has given you corn, I would advise you to get it in, being in harvest time, for we intend you no harm. They parted amicably, and the messengers returned to put an end to the people's fears. Now, knowing this, thank y'all for allowing me to read that. Now, knowing this, y'all. Now, knowing this, I do not think they ever finished paying those pounds, that wampum, everything that was requested. I don't think they finished paying the land indenture. And now knowing that's just my hypothesis. Knowing this, if they have not finished paying the land indenture, right? Then this whole issue with Chester, the receiver, the goddamn bankruptcy, the disincorporation is all null and void. It's moot, because in court, you have to have evidence, truth, proof, and fact to substantiate your claim. So if the city, if the state can't even prove that they bought this land and paid for it, because what you always get for free after you pay for something? What's that joint called? Oh, CVS receipts. And that's what we bringing y'all today. If you can't pull out that CVS receipt and say, oh yeah, we paid the Lame King, we paid Chief Equaquan, we paid Chief Sakane, we paid Chief Tammany, we paid Chief Namens, then you don't own anything. Nothing. So how about we bring this up to Mr. Dowry and Mr. Kapoor next time they have the receivers meeting? What's your thoughts on this, Moon?
Great idea. And I'm pretty sure if that does ever occur, we'll have a lot more receipts to match against theirs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think these kinds of conversations in the present, a lot of times it's missing the American Indian lens, right? So we can get very caught up in the colonial ways of thinking, the swarthy European ways of thinking, that was brought here, right? In terms of, asking whose land is it anyways, when we already know the question to that. And now, as I said, we just pulling out the CVS receipts to substantiate that they don't even have their receipts. They don't have their stuff in order. So now, guess it's time for us to, you know, get going to see where that actual receipt is, because just like I said, just because we can't find it, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not there. We just got to do a better job at finding it. However, it does beg the question that if we at Urban Indian Heritage Society, you know and shout out to Urban Indian Heritage Society. I see Mr. Vita in the chat below. We appreciate you, Mr. Vita, and we appreciate everyone that's pulling up to give us some views and check us out today. If we at Urban Indian Heritage Society, all professionals here, if we're not able to find that, then that does beg and put the ball back in the court of the residents of Chester, right? What are you prepared to do if you find out that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania does not own this city? What are we prepared to do? And I'm saying it like yeah, I'm in it too with y'all. Like, I'm right here in 19013. It's smack dab in the LV. What we gonna do, y'all? What's you saying, Moon? If not now, then yeah, say that, John, for me, please.
If not us, then who? And if not now, then when?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely wanted to bring y'all some tidbits regarding Chester, and just how that ties into overall American Indian history. A lot of folks don't take the time to do their genealogy, and Moon, Firewalker, I think this would be a great time for us to talk a little bit about what we do at Urban Indian Heritage Society regarding genealogy, and maybe a little PSA about our petition and our supporters that have supported us thus far. Would y'all be able to help me out with that?
Yes, absolutely. And we definitely want to thank all the people, the over 10,000 verified signatures that have supported our petition, including actor James Hawthorne, as well as the beloved Kyrie Irving. We appreciate them believing in what we're speaking about. And definitely, we are the first people to fight for the misclassified American Indians, the victims of paper genocide, ethnocide, and policide. We also have uh, pretty much been the first to verbally and vocally be so gifted at challenging some of these things that they're teaching, because we are the proof, we are the receipt. Um, just to give an example, the things that people know about history, when you're speaking with some of the people that we work with, we are the history, right? If we're talking about the Bible, I'm also a descendant of King James. So I get to talk about the history in a fashion where I insert myself into the narrative. When we're speaking about the treaties here with the Indians and, in the Plymouth colony, Virginia colony, with the early settlers, they signed the treaty. The English, the British, the colonizers signed the treaties with my direct bloodline relatives. So we get to examine these stories from the inside out, not just the outside looking in. And I think that makes us very unique. And the fact that we love genealogy, the actual science and sport of it, and the interest that people take in finding out what it is that their folks were doing throughout the annals of history. So that's pretty much what Urban Indian Heritage is about. And we also about the preservation of the culture, the history, the documents for sure. Um, yeah, and to see other people dig into their history and help them get along the way.
I appreciate that, Moon. I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank former presidential candidate Dr. Cynthia McKinney. Dr. McKinney has also been a stalwart supporter of our petition. We appreciate her support and her tutelage. Currently, Urban Indian Heritage Society has a petition for the misclassified North American and American Indian. A lot of folks, such as us and our uh, families and ancestors, unfortunately, have been misclassified over many years as either mulatto, colored, Negro, Black, now modern day African American and BIPOC. And us calling ourselves American Indians is a way to reclaim that and also to show honor and respect to our grandparents. So, you know, when we take ownership, when we stand on our American Indian, that's not us being, you know, haughty or being disrespectful to anybody else. That's not to put anybody else down, but it is to show honor to our grandparents, right? Because a lot of times they weren't able to go by, you know, those specific names and titles, right? As American Indian. A lot of times, if you want by that, you know, you might get something smart said, like, why you not on a reservation and things like that, you know? Or, you know, so we try to bring awareness to that. And if we could actually, or if our UIHS members in the chat, if you could put the link to the petition in the chat, just so people that might watch this later can support, we would highly appreciate that. I also would like to thank our continued partners. That would have to go in the Facebook chat, unfortunately, y'all. So I'd appreciate if y'all could put that in for me. Maybe Mr. Vita, Nikki, we
Yeah,
appreciate
she
you
took
so
care
much.
of it.
Thank you
Davita
so
did
much.
it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vita. One of the things that I also wanted to add that I just put in the chat is the actual book, History of Delaware County, because we like to give, you know, we like to give sources and everything so that folks can peruse at a later time. I don't know if that's allowing me to post, but I will definitely get that in there for y'all.
And
Go ahead.
I just wanted to go over a few things just to let everybody know. Thanks again for tuning in. This program has been made possible by the support of our community. We want to give a special thanks to all of our Urban Indian Heritage Society family. That includes, you know, thank you for Phoenix Moon, Chief Warhorse with the Save the Mound Initiative. Thank you, Tasha Shee. Thank you, First Tribe Nation. Thank you, Johnny Aborigine. The Mound Builders Book Club, thank you. And the Neoliberal Podcast. Your ongoing collaboration and dedication helps us achieve our mission. So that's great support. Also, a quick reminder, none of this content can be reproduced without the written consent of the Urban Indian Heritage Society. If you need any genealogical services or have any inquiries, please reach out to us at urbanindianheritagesociety.org, and you'll be able to connect with us there. And stay tuned for more Urban Indian Heritage Society information, more content. And once again, happy Indigenous Peoples Day. And thanks to all the 10,000 subscribers that help, everybody that put something on the petition, that, you know, the comments. I know they got videos up now, so appreciate you for that. And enjoy the weekend. We got the rest of the day and tomorrow, so have a good time, and, you know, remember your ancestors. And
Appreciate that, Junior Firewalker. We just wanted to once again thank everyone here that pulled up, our colleagues from Urban Indian Heritage Society, Miss S, Nikki Sunflower, Mr. Vita, as well as some of our other colleagues that I personally seen pulled up, Stevie Ramon, Dave Richardson. Um, Love to see you down below. And just the rest of our Chester family here in 19013. We appreciate you. We hope that you take the time to learn a little bit more about the American Indian history that surrounds us here on the west side and the east side, right? Take some time to go down to the original Penn's Landing, located right here in Chester at Front and Penn Street. And also, if you haven't, feel free to visit our website, urbanindianheritagesociety.org, and sign our petition for the misclassified American Indian. On behalf of Urban Indian Heritage Society, I am Dr. Nolan. The time is 4:16 p.m. Eastern, right here in Lenape Hocken and Okie territory. And I just like to wish you a happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Now, in American Indian language, we usually say ana, which is goodbye, in Powhatan or Chapisalachike. So I'll say both. Peace, ana, and Chapisalachike.